I would like to go to my next guest. I see him in the background. I'm joined by my man, Dimitri Lascaris. Dimitri Lascaris is a lawyer, journalist, activist from Montreal, Quebec in 2020. Dimitri ran for the Green Party leadership. In, no, I just said that, ran for the Green Party leadership in 2020. He is host of Reason to Resist. Check him out. The reason, in fact, part of the reason to bring you on. Well, I bring you on anytime you want to come on, and I always send out invites. But you had a really good show. You went over Laith's situation, basically the details of what happened to him. You did some investigative work. And the other one had to do with, what is the question? You made the point of saying Zionism is toast. You were talking to BJ Prasad. And
Right.
the basic argument was, like, you've beat this into the ground to such a degree. How do you recover this ideology? And that is a fantastic question. It's kind of like Nazism, right? Like, you can't even name yourself Hitler in Austria right now. Like, it's been so tarnished and damaged. And my ex is Austrian. And, one of the things I think we've had this conversation about, where she talks about the next generation after, or the generation after that, where they come to reconcile, like, whoa, this is what you did. And there's a question about whether or not that is what's going to have to deal with, that's assuming Israel continue to exist. But Israelis, Jews, etc., later, of, is this really what we did? Now, the first Nakba, it did not happen. It didn't happen. But if you go around and effectively commit a genocide in real terms, it does it. I'm sorry. I need to bring. I'm sorry. How are you doing, Dimitri? You doing okay today?
Well, considering all the horrors that you've just described, I'm doing okay.
But yeah, that's pretty heavy invite. I'm sorry. I had the stuff in my head before you came on, because, like I said, when I saw your shows, I was like, wow, these are damn good shows. And again, Reason to Resist. Check Dimitri out. Yeah, and so I wanted to step into it. Let's start with Laith first. Apparently, I just got a text from Laith maybe an hour ago where he said he's back on the horse. And so he's going to, I guess, start doing interviews again. But you were able to do, I don't know if you personally did it, but either way, there was investigative research where you were able to figure out what actually happened. When I spoke to him, when he first got out, he kind of made the point of saying physically he's okay, mentally, he's okay. So I'm assuming that's pretty conspicuous of saying physically my body is okay. What went on in this? Because this comes across as being a political issue.
So he, and just bear in mind as I describe what happened, and as I said in my report, I've crossed into South Lebanon, and the dividing line, by the way, between Lebanon, South Lebanon, is generally acknowledged to be a river called the Litani River, Litni, which runs more or less roughly parallel to the border between Lebanon and what I call occupied Palestine, or what Zionists call Israel. So, and it's not too far from the border. I believe it's like a band of territory that's maybe 20, 25 kilometers wide. And this is very much Hezbollah country. Okay. There are others there, Maronite Christians, there are Sunnis and others, but it is really dominated by the Shia Muslim community and people who are pro-Hezbollah. So this is an area during the last 22 months of horror that I've crossed into on maybe 10 to 15 occasions. And every single time I was accompanied by either Laith or his producer, Hadi Hotait, a Lebanese journalist. Usually it was both of them. So all three of us were driving in Hadi's SUV. So I've done this many times, and I've never had the experience that Laith had. There have been a couple of occasions where you have to go through, usually Lebanese army checkpoints. There are also some checkpoints that are operated by UNIFIL, the so-called peacekeeping force of the United Nations. But, it's customary to go through a Lebanese army checkpoint in order to get into South Lebanon. And there have been times where I was with them or I was with just Hadi, and we were stopped and, we were questioned and they turned us back. So you can't go in. And then we had to be, find alternatives or just go back to Beirut. But it's never gone beyond that,
Which
And
is rational, by the way. Just to interrupt real quick.
Sure.
Like if you went to an airport and they say, "Do you have a passport?" and you say no, they don't lock you up. They tell you to leave. Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, and I'm not a Lebanese citizen, nor do I reside in Lebanon. Right? I'm not a citizen of. I'm not Arabic, so I'm about as strange to this place as anybody can be. Whereas Laith actually resides in Lebanon. He's been there for years. Hadi is a Lebanese citizen. Laith is not a Lebanese citizen. He technically is a Syrian and a Canadian citizen, but he's well known, I imagine, to the authorities. His media outlet, of which he is executive director, Free Palestine TV, has done. God, they must have done certainly dozens, if not hundreds, of reports from South Lebanon.
Right.
Hard to believe that Lebanese military intelligence didn't already know who Laith is when all of this happened. So this is the background, okay? So he goes down there with Hadi, makes another trip, and they're heading to a village, I believe it was called Mash al-Sab, something like that, which is about a kilometer and a half from the border with occupied Palestine. And it, like so many villages in the border area, has been completely demolished by Israel. I'm talking flattened, okay? I've seen this over and over again when I was down there. And they actually get through the Lebanese army checkpoint without even being stopped. Sometimes you just go, they just wave you through, right? They don't even ask you anything. So on this occasion, that happened. They just went through and nobody tried to stop them. Nobody questioned them. And then they get beyond the checkpoint and they are on the outskirts of this village that they wanted to see. And all of a sudden, more than 10 men on scooters surround their SUV and block them from moving. So they get out and they're told to wait. And as they're waiting, one of the men on the scooters calls a municipal police officer who shows up. And when he gets there, the municipal police officer, there's some brief questioning, and then he advises Laith and Hadi that they're going to have to be interrogated by military intelligence, not by sort of ordinary Lebanese army soldiers, but by military intelligence. So, and apparently, the municipal police officer, before they were taken away, had conversations with people who are associated with the resistance and who said, these guys are okay. Okay. Like, no need to be worried about them. And he just said, I don't care. I don't care what you say. They're going to be interrogated by military intelligence. So they both get taken to the local military intelligence office, which is in a place called Tibnin, Tibnin. And along the way, Laith is placed in handcuffs by the military intelligence officer. Hadi is not. Mm-hmm. And when they get there, they are interrogated separately. It's not a particularly eventful interrogation. I wouldn't say anything troubling happened. And it appeared that everything was going to be fine and they were going to be released. And they actually were told to go stand outside while some paperwork was done, and they were standing at the exit and they were having a cigarette. And as they were waiting, to their surprise, they're told, no, you actually aren't going to be released. Hadi can go, but Laith can't. So Laith is then taken to the military intelligence headquarters in Lebanon's third largest city, which is called Sidon. It's on the coast of the Mediterranean coast of Lebanon. And there he is interrogated again. Hadi, at that point, I think he tried to wait, but he was told, you can't wait. You need to go. And so Laith is now on his own. And Hadi loses contact with him. From that point on, so this was Sunday. What is it today? It's was it Wednesday? I think. So 2 Sundays.
Yeah.
Right? So so now late Sunday evening, I believe it was, Hadi loses contact with him. Laith is then unknown to Hadi, is being interrogated in Sidon. When that is finished, he is put in a cell and held overnight. And then the following day, he is transported to the military intelligence headquarters in Beirut.
Are you serious?
And they put him in the back of a hatch of, I think it was the largest vehicle, blindfolded and handcuffed. Now, just imagine, you know, in a place like Lebanon,
Are
with
you
all
serious?
he's blindfolded and handcuffed. He doesn't know where he's going. So this is going to be for a third round of interrogation, and he gets to the military intelligence headquarters in Beirut. He is told to shower. He is forced to undergo a cold shower. He's then allowed to put his underwear back on, and he's still wet. And he is put in a room, a very cold room, intentionally cold, it appeared. And he's dripping wet, and he's blindfolded in his underwear, and he's made to stand up. And in that condition, he's interrogated. And apparently
That's outrageous. Are you serious?
This is my best information about what happened, and I think it's reliable. So
that is outrageous.
The first thing out of the interrogator's mouth essentially is, you know, what sect are you? So he wanted to know if he was Maronite, Shia, Muslim, Sunni Muslim, and Laith said, I'm Muslim. I've spoken to Laith about this, by the way, so I know what his views about this are. Yeah. And the guy says, so, you know, guy gets angry with him and says, what do you mean you're Muslim? I want to know your sect. I didn't ask you what your religious faith is. What's your sect? And he says, he gave some kind of, you know, complex answer, because he does come from he has both strains, Shia and Sunni, in his background. And he says, look, I'm Muslim. That's all I am. And the guy becomes very irate, begins to question him aggressively about, I didn't mention that his cell phone, his computer devices have been taken away. Right. They've now searched them. And he starts getting asked aggressively about contacts. And one in particular that got the attention of this interrogator was Laith, from many years ago, had contacted Gideon Levy, you know, the world famous, Gideon Levy apparently was in Montreal 20 some odd years ago when Laith was an activist there. Yeah. And he gave a speech, and Laith basically took him for a tour. Never spoke to him again, but he just happened to have Gideon Levy's name and phone number in his phone. And the guy says, "Who's this? Is an Israeli?" Laith says, "Yeah." Because I recognize this name as Israeli. He goes, "So who is this man?" And Laith says he works for the liberal newspaper Haaretz, and he's, you know, very, very critical of the Israeli government. I met him years ago. So the guy didn't know apparently who Gideon Levy was. And this is military intelligence.
He didn't know Israeli. It's like, this guy's Israeli.
Yeah. So this goes on for several hours. Laith is then placed in a cell with 5 or 6 other guys, and they're given up until that point in time, Laith had not eaten anything. So now that we're talking 2 days, this is the Tuesday hour we're talking on, and they come in and they give these 6 or 7 guys in the cell a single bowl of rice with mushrooms.
Oh, you can't be serious.
And they're told one guy in there had a plastic bag, which apparently you're not supposed to have, and he pulls it out. And the reason why he had the plastic bag was he used it to divide up the food every time they serve food. So they throw the rice and the mushrooms into a plastic bag, and they divide it up. My understanding is Laith basically didn't eat anything. He had a few nibbles at that moment. It was the first time he ate. And then in the evening, I forgot to mention that, the following day. So now we're into the following day. Let me just do my math here. So Sunday night, he's in Sidon. Then he spends the night at military intelligence. So Wednesday or Tuesday, the third day, in the morning, he's told, you can now have a phone call. At that point in time, he had not been given the opportunity to call anybody, not a lawyer, not his family. So his family, so it wasn't just hiding. Nobody knew where Laith was.
Right.
And again, we're talking about Lebanon, a country at war with a very, difficult past. This is not the kind of experience you want to go through in a place like Lebanon, to be, to disappear in the custody of military intelligence for a couple of days. So he said you can have a phone call, and you got one call, And the guy, the military intelligence officer, who do you want to call? And Laith says, well, I want to call my doorman. And the guy says, you want to call your doorman? He says, listen, my wife and my kids are in Canada, and we got cats, and they haven't eaten in 2 days. Someone's got to go in there and feed my cats. So the guy says, you want to call your doorman to feed your cats? He goes, yes, we care a lot about our cats. So he calls the doorman, authorizes him to go into the apartment and feed the cats. And then he learns that he's going to get a visit from the Consul General of the Canadian Embassy.
Oh.
Now on that day, around the time that he's given a call, he's allowed to make this call, I published my interview of Hadi Hotate, his producer. And Hadi tells me in the interview everything he knows. And not only that, but Hadi has also gone to the, on the X account of Free Palestine TV and has announced what has happened, that Laith has disappeared.
By the way, I had him here too. I did an interview with him here.
So your audience may be familiar with this part already, so I won't repeat that. But the point here is that both Hadi's efforts on X and his interview with me, and I think, didn't he also speak with you before Laith was released? There was another interview, I think. Yeah. Right. Okay.
It was the day before Laith was released. I had Hadi here and basically asked people, contact Canada, contact Lebanon, etc.
Right. So we did the same thing. Of course, Hadi was doing this on X. And so I think the combination of all these things caused a lot of people to contact the Canadian Embassy. And so the Consul General shows up, and she doesn't appear to know who Laith is, right? And which is interesting for a reason I'll explain in a moment. But she says, look, this is an unusual case because we've received thousands of communications asking for us to ensure your release from the custody of military intelligence. And when she's meeting with Laith at the military intelligence headquarters, there's a military intelligence officer in the room listening. He refuses to leave them alone to speak. So he's listening to the whole conversation, right? And he hears this. He hears there are thousands of people who've contacted the embassy. I think she indicates, like that we haven't had anything like this happen before. Offers him, some alternative for legal counsel. He hasn't consulted with a lawyer apparently at that point in time. And in the course of that conversation, he reveals that the Consul General, she didn't know this, that she had met Laith's spouse. And the reason why she had met Laith's spouse is because Laith's spouse is the head of a department at a major Lebanese university, and she's a Canadian citizen. And the Canadian embassy not too long ago had invited her over to the embassy as an honor because she apparently is in Lebanese academia the highest ranking Canadian citizen, right? And so he mentions that this academic is his wife, and she now, wow, I didn't know that. And she's now even more concerned to ensure his release. The military intelligence officer is hearing this whole thing, and all of a sudden, he seemed to be communicating. All of a sudden, he announces, "Oh, we're going to let you go today." So I think who knows, Jamarl, what would have happened if the military intelligence officer had not overheard a conversation like this between Laith and the Consul General of Canada's embassy. On that note, essentially the Consul General is satisfied, leaves, but he's not immediately released. He's actually made to wait until late at night before they let him go, many hours after that. But he is released on that day, and they take him to the military intelligence headquarters. Is apparently on the outskirts of Beirut, on the highway between Beirut and Damascus, which I've been there many times. It's a crazy highway. It's a huge amount of traffic and kind of dangerous place to drive. And they just dump him on the highway, basically, on the outskirts of Beirut. And his phone is given back to him in a condition that's inoperable. So he can't call anybody. He just basically starts walking in the direction of downtown Beirut. And somewhere along the way, manages to find a way to contact I believe it was Hadi. Somebody came to pick him up, and as you can imagine, this is pretty disturbing
Yeah.
to Laith, and I can understand completely why he is, he was reluctant to tell his story. But I've seen some reporting he's been doing since then, Jamal, and he doesn't seem to be discouraged in the slightest by what happened to him. He went to, I'm pretty sure this was after, it had to be after. I don't know if you've been talking
from the airport.
Yeah, George Abdallah,
Yeah.
right? The legendary Lebanese revolutionary who was released from a Parisian.
France after 40 years.
41, yeah, 41 years.
Thank you. That's even worse.
He's like 74.
Yeah.
And this man, I have to be honest with you, Jamal. I watched Laith's report. I'm surprised the Israelis didn't just blow that place sky high. It's like they could have done it. It would have been the easiest thing for them to do. These people are standing at, outside Beirut airport with a huge crowd, and George Abdallah is there basically calling on the Arab peoples to rise up against the autocracies who have effectively collaborated with Israel.
Yes.
And anybody, in my opinion, anybody having seen what I've seen in Lebanon, anybody who was at that event was basically taking his life into his own hands or her own hands, because it was the easiest thing. And this is like nothing for Israel. They killed Nasrallah. They killed all of these other senior figures from Hezbollah. They have a lengthy, sordid history of massacring anybody who's perceived to be the leader of a resistance movement. And here's George Abdallah, a man whom they claim killed an Israeli diplomat in France. I think his name was Simantov, standing out in the open after having been released during the genocide, calling for Arabs to rise up. So, I don't think it's hard to imagine Israel wiping out anybody who was.
Yeah.
Laith's there, he's doing the report, and he's very, very, I think it's fair to say, pro Abdallah in his reporting. Doesn't seem to be deterred in the slightest. It's actually quite remarkable. I must say this,
to be honest.
You know him. You know him as well as anybody, and I mean, you've had him on your program many times. My understanding is, and so this is a man who's fearless. He's fearless. And
if I told him, he freaks me out big time. Because I've heard some of the reporting that Laith has done, and he's went through some of the situations that he was in. Some of those things were death-defying, being shot at, nearly hit by Israel. I mean, and it's dude, you're freaking me out. I think I even told him that. I said, dude, you're freaking me out.
On one of our trips, we stayed in a house. Hadi had a cousin who owned a house right on the border. It was like a kilometer from the border. And we could see an Israeli military base on a hill right across. So they had a clear line of sight to us. And we spent 2 nights in that house. This was during the intense period of combat between Hezbollah last year. And, there were numerous explosions that took place during the time that we were there. And there was one airstrike that happened very close to us. It just freaked us out. Laith was actually doing an interview. It was one of the major alternative media programs while at the point where the airstrike took place. Oh, he was on the Garland Nixon show. I remember this. I was outside on the patio, and there's this airstrike, and it was almost like it happened. We didn't see, because we were on a hill, and we didn't see exactly where it hit, but it was so close that we thought something in our vicinity had been completely destroyed. And Laith, stood up right during the interview with Garland Nixon and said, "Gotta go." So
gotta cut this short.
So this is a regular occurrence for him. So I was a bit, it's not so regular for me. I tell you, that was quite something.
Yeah, that would be bizarre. I mean, and I'm not making a comparison. Living in DC, gunshots will go off all the time. Just you just get used to gunshots, right? That's not a war zone, but you get desensitized to just violence in DC, and so I can't these two things are not equal, but you can kind of see one to the other on how you can get, I would imagine, desensitized to the level of explosions or bombs or that stuff like that. Yeah,
there was one moment. It's very interesting what you say about desensitization. The one experience I had was we were actually I stopped with Hadi and Laith on the Litani River.
Mhm.
It was like a hot summer day, and we got out in a little place in the water. It was a really beautiful little place on the Litani River. We were drinking coffee, and there were kids playing everywhere, and there were adults. It was so hot they were just waiting in the water and trying to cool off. There was the damn Israeli airstrike overhead nearby. A huge explosion. It actually turned out, I thought it was an airstrike at the time, but it turned out to be a sonic boom from an Israeli fighter jet. And when it went off, I was like, whoa. And all the kids just started laughing and raising their hands in the air, shouting defiance. Kids.
Sucks.
But the desensitized
kids shouldn't have to grow up into that. I mean,
that's great.
That sucks. I mean, I know that's what Israel has been doing, right? And I know they've been killing kids and everything else, but I hate hearing stuff like that, even in schools. Like, because, in the States, school shooting, it's just kind of a fact of life. And you would get schools saying, hey, we need to put chains on our doors, or hey, we need to get the security guards, and we need to bring the police into schools. None of those are good outcomes. And meaning I understand why they would come to that. But the notion that kids have to grow up with a prison pipeline, or kids have to grow up with chains on their doors. I remember they did it in my school, where they start bringing in a security guard. You could see the changeover that was taking place in the United States. I mean, cops are maniacs. I don't want them near my kids. And yet, school shooters, or the bulletproof book bags, another anomaly in America. Yeah, that sucks.
Cops are scary in the United States, man.
They are. They're lunatics. They're full-blown lunatics. And it's only going to get worse. I mean, I was having a conversation with Warwick. Warwick was pointing this out, where he was making the point of saying what Donald Trump is doing is going to effectively impoverish Americans that much more. And this is on top of, and he was going through the stats of, X number food insecure, X number living paycheck. I think it was like 60, 70% living paycheck to paycheck. And, you go into X number die younger than in Europe or modern economies. And then you're taking money out of healthcare, like $700 billion. You're taking money out of SNAP programs. Meaning, what does this do to society when you are this over the top in your objective and trying to feed more rich people money, as opposed to pulling that money out of the hands of poor people who already don't have enough as is? It was like, it's chaos. You're effectively creating society of potential revolutionaries. And how does the state react to that? Well, the state becomes more tyrannical, typically, in order to put down what their policies have created. So,
100%.
Yeah, Europeans and Canadians, I don't think Europe and Canada is anywhere near that. And many of the people that I met, they're like, yeah, man, I don't want to come to the States. Especially if they're like Europeans, or if they're in Canada, they're like, yeah, screw that. You guys are lunatics.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for that breakdown, man. That is a fantastic breakdown. That is damn good reporting. Oh man, it sucks. Like I told Laith, I was like, dude, being in a gray area of the law is not good. Like where you've been disappeared effectively, where they don't know where you are. They don't know what is happening to you. And it's not even the police, it's military intelligence. So it's like, what is the point of a lawyer when you're dealing with military intelligence? Like if the CIA had dragged you to a black site and you say, I want my lawyer, they're gonna laugh. They're gonna laugh at you. A lawyer, really? Is that what you want, huh? You also want a Big Mac. Like, like nobody's gonna accept that, right? Like, but that is effectively what is taking place. This is like military intelligence. This wasn't even the police, where you have a legal system and a legal code and everything. Oh.
I think the reason why, I don't know this for sure, but I think the reason why he was given a call was because the Canadian consul was coming over, right? Like, not only was he released because of this interaction that he had with the consul in front of the military intelligence officer, but that was also the reason why he was given a call. He might not have even been given a call if it wasn't for her intervention.
What do you think this was about? Do you think this was purely a political persecution? Do you think this was, you're in the wrong place? Do you think, I mean, I guess when I talk to Laith, I suppose I can get his assessment on it. But where do you think this falls?
Well, I have to be careful what I say here because I have some information that I can't share about what happened. So,
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Talk around it. Yeah, talk around it.
I'll say this: you know, there are several possibilities. One is that somebody with power and influence in Lebanon has a private grudge. Another is that the Israelis are behind this, and they found people who are either aligned with them or who can be corrupted inside military intelligence.
Here's some
Uh,
cash.
right. And the third is this is somehow sectarian, and that there are factions. There's a faction within Lebanon that is particularly hostile. There might be more than one that's particularly hostile to Laith. So at this stage, Laith may know more about that than I do. Entirely possible, but it's unclear exactly why this happened. But I just can't believe for 1 second, because of how long Laith has been in Lebanon and how extensively this guy's he's an open book, man. He once did an interview I watched where he was calling on the people of Saudi Arabia to overthrow the crown prince by violence. Okay. And I spoke to him after that. I said, dude, you are playing with fire, man. You are in Lebanon. Okay. And the Saudis have, extensive contacts and influence in Lebanon. You think they'd hesitate to take you out? You are openly calling for the violent overthrow of the Saudi autocracy. So Laith has got a lot of enemies, bottom line, powerful enemies. So hard to say exactly who's behind this, but there's no way that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please. I'm sorry.
There's no way that I just can't believe that anybody thought he was a spy for Israel. I mean, come on.
Yeah, he doesn't have the ball. Like I've had interviews with him where I'm like, whoa, that's hardcore. I mean, now mind you, he's in Lebanon, right? And if you are seeing people get killed, you're seeing people get murdered, you're seeing the destruction of your place. So I understand why he takes that point of view, right? But yeah. Jesus, he is not like, I'm just going to say this in private. I'm going to be on air calling for this stuff, which you got to respect him.
Yeah.
Got to respect him for it.
Last year, the Israeli government put out a report. I think I might have mentioned this on a recent program with you, Jamal. They put out a report. I don't think they've done this before. I haven't seen this before. They put out a report purporting to identify the 5 worst anti-Semites in Canada. Leave it that.
Oh, wait, said it again.
The 5 worst anti-Semites, Israeli government. And so I read the report. I thought they might put me on that damn thing because of how critical I've been. Laith and I are quite possibly the 2 most outspoken critics of Zionism in Canada.
Yeah.
Okay. But Laith has been particular. I don't get nearly as difficult a time as Laith, in my view, because Laith is Arab, whereas I'm of European origin. I think that's a big reason why he's gotten more heat than I have. So he's in this report along with the Samidoun Prisoner Network, the Palestinian Solidarity Prisoner Network, which has never been accused of engaging in violence. So they put them in this report. They put the executive director, a woman by the name of Charlotte Cates, in this report, who's an outspoken defender of the Palestinian cause. They put a woman by the name of Sarah Jama, who is a Somali Canadian who is in the Ontario legislature. And she had been, a member of the legislature for a nominally social democratic party. Mm-hmm. And she was criticizing, a couple of years ago, she was vehemently criticizing Israel's treatment of Palestinians. And she got expelled from her own party and wasn't allowed to speak. They barred her from speaking in the Ontario legislature. And one day she came in there with a keffiyeh after all of this happened, and she was told to get out. Okay, so Sarah Jam is a person of conscience, extraordinary moral courage. She's in this report. And then they throw in some guy I never heard of before who I did some research, and he might actually be a real anti-Semite, this guy. Nothing to do with Palestine. Yeah, just a good measure. So they didn't want everybody to be a defender of the Palestinian cause. So they tried to make this look like a legitimate kind of assessment of who the worst anti-Semites are. So the point of the story is the Israeli government knows who Laith is, and they hate his guts. They absolutely hate his guts. And that was like, before all of much of the reporting he has done during the genocide had taken place. So you can imagine how much hostility they have towards him now. I'm surprised they haven't killed Laith by drone strike. They could easily have done that, and Hadi as well.
It's not like Lebanon would do anything about it.
Nope, nothing.
Not like the Lebanese military would do anything about it. I mean,
Yeah.
like Hadi said on the show, he was like, you have animals backed by Jelani coming from one side. You have the Israeli military murdering people on the other, and you go after Laith. I was like, yeah, right. I mean, it's not like they fire a shot in anger at Israel. So there's that. Thank you for that. Thank you.